keynote speakers, you have already seen her face on the pictures on the far right of the digital world organization that going to be launched next year. So let me introduce her. Uh, she is someone that I closely know, but in terms of academic experiences and also all these professional advancements, she's far greater than what I can imagine. So, Dr. Santri, that how she is known to her international teacher associates, is not only a lecturer and also not only the head of language lab in Nusa Tenggara University, but she's a person who committed to do research, writing, and also publication works. And she continues to persistently realize her works to at global level. In this third session, she will be discussing about EFL virtual classroom from the perspective of teachers and students. Now, if we can imagine that starting in March, for most of us, the COVID pandemic condition have changed our life, not only in terms of how we interact, but also the impact on academic life. So whether it's good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, enjoyable or stressful, Dr. Sandra will enlighten us on complaints, objection, criticism towards virtual teaching and learning process from her recent research. Without further ado, Dr. Santri, the time is yours.
Well, thank you, Miss Linda. I hope all of you can hear me loud and clear. Uh, can somebody tell me whether or not you can hear me?
Yes, your
Oh,
audio
okay.
is on.
That's great. Before we start, first of all, well, I forgot to say happy birthday to Rob. Rob, I can see you're still here. Happy belated birthday. And I'm going to start my talking about voices from EFL virtual classroom during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'll start sharing my screen. Okay. Well, Rob has already brought us to the issues related to my topic now. So he has been talking much about, well, to me, it's a kind of like 50% of the things I want to share with you today. Lucky me, right? So I can skip here and there. Uh, well, I will start my presentation by giving you the issues. What are the issues actually? What's behind it? What's behind all the voices? Well, the first issue is there is an increasing number of users in e-learning in which the teaching and learning process has to be undertaken remotely by using digital platforms. Starting from March 2020, particularly on the 24th of March, the Minister of Education and Culture has announced to close down all education units and at the same time all schools and universities in Indonesia and I believe in many countries all over the world have started running online learning. Well, to me, it's a kind of forced transition from face to screen. Why forced transition? Because um, I don't know, in other parts of Indonesia, especially in big cities, or other parts of the world, online learning is not something new. Uh, Many people, many students, many teachers have already come up with online learning since many years ago even. But for us in Kupang, particularly, and in other remote areas, we we have been forced to do the transition from face to screen, or from offline learning to online learning just since March 2020. That's why I call it forced transition, because, well, it's not based on our willingness to do that. It's because of the condition. Many complaints, objections, and critics come from both parties, teachers and students. Well, those complaints also come from many other parties related to or involved in the teaching and learning process. Parents, for example. I'll go on. There are challenging and rewarding. Rob has mentioned this before. Well, I'm thinking of when I was writing this PowerPoint, I was thinking of challenging and rewarding, or challenging but rewarding. But I decided to use challenging and rewarding because it's a kind of two sides of a coin. In facing this situation, we can take it as a challenging, but also at the same time we can take that one too as a kind of rewarding. Uh, Again, there are many different questions coming from those who are involved in education, especially in ELT, about how to overcome those challenges, uh, how to gain the benefits, if there are any benefits, and how to find out strategies to strengthen the online learning, to be able to enjoy the teaching and learning process by using online platform. Now, let me walk you through the difference, or not the difference, uh, or it's kind of highlighting thing between face-to-face and online learning. And I have to admit, some participants just come. So I'll play with the pictures here to make things more interesting. Well, this is one way to make the online presentation or online teaching and learning more interesting for your students if you're teachers. And the first difference is, as you can see in the picture, in online classes, both teachers and students need electronic devices, mobile phone, tablet, laptops, to be able to use in online. Even if you have the most modern digital devices, but if you have no internet connection, then it equals to zero. You can't do anything. You can't do online learning. So electronic devices and internet connection are really essential in online learning. And for traditional classes, well, it used to be like you just need to come to the classroom with books and pencils or pens. Uh, that's all what traditional classes is about. But well, I don't know. Nowadays, like Rob said before, some students just slipped their mobile phone or their electronic devices inside their school bag, and the teachers never know. But what I mean by traditional classes here is pencil or pens and book or paper based. And another one is how teachers have to deal with online classes and offline classes. If you're teachers, then you look at this picture, I'm sure you're very familiar with this condition. You spend more energy talking and even get angry, get cranky to your students, rather than when you are teaching offline. Well, I don't know. Maybe in offline classes, you can manage your anger, your you can manage your emotion, but not in online classes. I don't know why. Well, let's share after that. Next, this is what you look like. Is this what you look like? I should ask. instead of giving statement. Well, at 8 a.m. in online classes, you just as soon as you get up from your bed, turn on your computer, connect to the internet, and there you go. You're ready to join the lesson. But in offline classes, you can't do that, can you? You have to get dressed. You have to put the best dress, and then put a makeup before you go to your class. Uh, well, takes lots and lots of time, I believe, for ladies to put on your makeup. And well, sometimes you might be late for class because of your makeup thingy. The other one, this is the difference. As you can see here, difference between teachers in normal classes. You keep on asking your students to stop talking because they're too noisy. Because they won't stop talk from one to another. And you have to keep on reminding them, stop talking, stop talking. But it doesn't or rarely happen in online classes. On the other way around, in online classes, what you always remind your class, your students, is to say something, please. Because all your students are being quiet all the time, almost all the time. So every time you have to say, instead of saying stop talking, you have to say, guys, please say something. I'm waiting for you to say something. It's too quiet. So, well, I believe all of you, teachers, lecturers, you're familiar with this condition. Well, I am. That's why I put it in my slide. And these are the phases of your students, what they look like, starting from 2018 to 2021. You can see the transformation. Uh, in 2018, they are they are like that. Look at their faces. And in 2019, they've grown up already. They changed a bit. 2020 totally changed, not only a bit. All their faces are different from what they look like. They put all the favorite characters on their profile photo. So you nearly can't recognize them, that they are your students. And then back to 2021, hopefully it will come true next year. Everything will be back to normal again. I mean to that. And well, of course, your students, well, you might not recognize their faces because all of them have grown up in 1 year. And this is what the classroom, school classroom looks like in March 2019. Your students are still in the classroom, even though it's like a disaster, but still they are sitting in the classroom. But starting from March 2020, they are all sitting in their own places and being in the same room with you in Zoom or any other platform. This is interesting. Students, if you're familiar with this, then there you go. The way you skip class is different as well. Well, still in February 2020, the way you skip class is physically you ran away from class. You avoid it, for example, with a subject. If you don't like English, then you get away of the class. You run away from the teachers. But starting from March 2020, all you need to do is it's just one click away to skip from your class. You just need to unmute yourself and then turn off your camera. And well, wherever you go, whatever you do, your teachers will never know. And if he or she keeps on calling you again and again, no answer, it means that you have already fallen asleep. This is the other one. The way you cheat is different as well. So still in March 2019, all you need to do was to write on a piece of paper and then pass it on from one to another to give your students answer. But since March 2020, all you need to do is start in Google machine and then find the answer. Copy and paste. It's easy, right? Okay, start doing your reflection, guys. Okay, if I've adopted it anyway. So if I like If I may, I should say, if I may put in a Venn diagram, then it's going to be like this, the big difference between offline learning and online learning and similarities. You can see the similarities here. There are a variety of instructional techniques. So if you're creative enough, then you can find many variety techniques in teaching, either offline or online. And then differentiated learning, group and individual activities. You can have group activities in offline learning, either in offline learning or online learning. And it happens too in individual activities. Individual activities can be applied in both models of learning. Teacher is facilitator. But let's see, I'm not going to go through in detail about the difference because it's going to take time. But if you can see the difference here, the first one is, sorry, I have to skip the people who want to enter the room. The first one is, oh gosh, the first one is teacher and students meet synchronously. That's in offline learning. So no other way, but they have to meet synchronously. In online learning, they can do both synchronous or asynchronous. So it really depends on which way teachers prefer. And then in offline class, teacher may 100% rely on models or other manipulative and also lab equipment. But it doesn't happen in online class because all the access to uh, the materials are limited. About feedback, I should say that it's easier for teachers to give feedback directly to their students in the offline uh, or traditional classroom. There's a kind of delay in online class dealing with the feedback. So teachers can give feedback uh, their as soon as their students say that they're having problems or they don't understand things dealing with whatever has been explained. In offline learning, it's all about arts and craft, while in online learning, it's all about programs and apps. So if you are not really familiar with all the programs and apps that can support your online learning, then uh, it's a kind of you're getting lost in the middle of nowhere. Well, I think I'm going to skip the rest to the more practical issues. Okay, let's come to what do experts say about online learning? But there are several, if not many, writings dealing with online learning. And I've quoted several definitions here, or several statements dealing with online learning. The first one is uh, from the first one is from Gonzalez and Lewis in 2018, even before Corona. They come up with a definition that online learning can be seen as learning carried out from a distance, and it's assisted by electronic devices, as I told you before, right? For instance, tablets, smartphones, laptops, and computers, which require internet connection. No internet connection, then all your smartphones, even the most modern one, will be useless. And then this is quite recently, I guess. These actions certainly give impact on education. So the online learning will give impact on education, particularly or especially for students' growth. What it means by student growth here is dealing with students' attitude, their perception, assessment, evaluation, their satisfaction, and their performance in online class. I'm talking about EFL online class, but it can be applied in general class. Let me continue. Uh, Now, this is about online environment. Well, I keep on talking to my class. Well, most of my students are here. I keep on talking to my class that please, before you start your online class, try to create academic environment in your surrounding. It means that you have to create your own workplace. I heard this from Rob as well, that you have to prepare workplace. Otherwise, it doesn't seem or uh, it's not going to be looked like a classroom for you. You are listening to your lecturer or you're listening to your teachers while your parents are shouting out in the same room, or your brothers and sisters are chasing each other. It's not going to be a classroom, a good classroom, I should say. So, talking about online learning environment, according to Chris, even this, he said this in 2008, um, online learning environment is not only useful for students to be able to get access to their knowledge and materials, learning materials, but also to make them able to associate and make collaboration between one another. Um, when we're talking about when we're talking about challenges and rewarding, when we're talking about some of the this issue because research is one of the opportunities in these particular circumstances. Many people have complained over these online classes, complained over the pandemic, but researcher, it's a kind of blessing in disguise. Think of they can think of many phenomena to write about. As soon as we get away from this pandemic, then a true researcher can come with many writings. I'm sure about it. Like I said, it's kind of blessing in my research. The issue about research. So in 2014, some came up with this issue that the investigation of fully online learning is very rare. Well, that was back in 2014. What about now, 2020? Well, as I told you before, as soon as we get away from these circumstances, when we come to 2021, I believe that all researchers, or I should say truly researchers, have already come up with many writings about different topics dealing with this pandemic. And then the next issue is about EFL context. Well, it discusses about how the online learning is applied because of the situation where teachers are not possible together in a face-to-face context, like the situation that we are facing now. Okay, now let me continue. I'm going to focus on my study. I need to share my screen again. Sorry about it. I have to here and there at the same time. So let me share my screen again. Yeah. Hopefully it's working now. See the screen. So I'm going to focus on my study now rather than looking at others' findings of other study. I've included two teachers and two students from all level, each level. So I looked at the level of elementary school, junior high school, senior high school, and university for undergraduate level. I'm not dealing with postgraduate level. So 2 multiplied by 4 equals to 8. I've included 8 teachers and 8 students in my study. The way I collected the data was through focus group discussion and interviews. The questions I asked in the interviews were basically about the things that we've discussed in focus group discussion, but I went deeper. I elaborated the questions to become more specific in order to get information from both teachers and students. Here are my findings, starting from elementary school teachers. Well, the picture is entertaining, right? At least it can make you smile. From positive and negative side, starting from positive side. The first one, the positive of having online class for teachers. First one is spend much time with their children to help them study. And well, some teachers say that some parents almost have no time to help their children to study. They enroll their children to school, and then that's it. They leave all the responsibility to teachers. If their children do great at school, then that's their children. But if their children fail, then they will be with teachers. Okay, teachers, you don't do well. That's why my children fail. So they take the credit for the good things, but they put the blame on teachers for all the mistakes, all the failure. Well, that's what they say, not from me. And then teaching and learning time is more flexible. It can be any time, in the morning or in the afternoon, in the evening, based on the agreement. Now let's come to negative. Negative side. Well, positive. There are only 2 positive points here. The first one of the negative side is no interaction. So it's just like one-way communication. Basically, no online teaching and learning takes place. The way they usually do is once a week or twice a week, they take a kind of assignment or task to students' house. It's a kind of home visit. And then after finishing working on the task, the students themselves or their parents, or brothers and sisters, they submit. They have to go to school to submit. So it's not really online actually. See, I told you before, no online learning mostly, but home based. Well, you have to remember that it, I don't know, but I think it can't be applied for 100% elementary school teachers in Kupang because only like 2 teachers for school and 2 students, even though they come from different schools, but only 2. I don't think it can represent, but still, talking about the voices, more or less, they represent the voices of all teachers of elementary school, but not the system. I'm talking about the voices, not the system. And then almost no explanation in discussion, but assignments. So teachers, all teachers do is to give assignments all the time. Uh, Parents, I don't represent parents here. I don't represent the voice here, but parents, most parents complain about this, that teachers just give assignments all the time without explaining or without having discussion because there's no online platform use in this case. No control of the students' learning. Teacher cannot control at all because they just, they put or they give the assignment and then they leave the students Well, whether the students come up with their own and or the parents, their brothers, sisters, uh, work on behalf of the students, teachers never know. What they know is the work is submitted, they correct the work, and they know that all the students are doing right. That's why I say no control of students' work. Students can't learn by themselves. Some parents even can't help as they don't know English. When it comes to EFL subject, uh, well, maybe in Bahasa Indonesia or in religion subject, students can still discuss with parents. But the problem here for EFL subject is not all parents master English. They have to ask help from, uh, I don't know, from any other parties, from their neighbors or any other relative. Now, findings from junior high school teachers. Positive. Again, similar. Parents spend much time with their children to help them study, usually not. And teaching learning time is flexible. Uh, well, if it's in offline class, then they can't um, they can't teach and learn as they like in time. I'm talking about KEYNOTE because they have their own schedule, fixed time. But in online teaching and learning process, they can do like in deciding when to do what. Now, also too, positive point. Negative. First one, little chance or even almost no chance at all for online learning. So even for junior high school teachers and students, no online learning can be applied. Well, some schools maybe. As I told you, I do not, or I'm not trying to represent all schools, all junior high schools in Upang in terms of the system. Um, but the voice of teacher and student, I think it can represent all students and teachers, more or less. And there are no interaction because no online learning. Sometimes they use WhatsApp, but no interaction. Just send a message. Usually contains um, this point is more or less similar. Almost no explanation and discussion can be provided, especially if it comes to the teaching of structure, reading, and vocabulary. It's going to be difficult to explain through WhatsApp, voice note, for example. Not many students do and submit the this part has been complained a lot by teachers that they give homework and then only like no more than 10% students submit their work. No control over students' learning again. Then I need to skip this because I've explained earlier. Students can't learn much if not nothing. So it's not to think that there are several students even do not do anything during this online learning because they don't understand anything explained by their teachers and they don't dare to ask. That's the main problem. And that's why polyglot students can't learn much, and some of them can't learn anything. Let's come to the finding of senior high school students. Positive, parents spend much time. Yeah, I think this comes from all levels. Learning time is flexible, anytime. You can jump from your bed and then go straight to your laptop, connect to the internet, and there you go. You are joining your class. So it's very flexible. New experience and skill to learn about online tools. Well, teachers of senior high school say that the good things about going online nowadays is they have new experience. They have new skills to learn about online tools. Before they didn't know anything about it. But now, like it or not, they have to force themselves to like it. And negative when students have no devices. Yeah, Rob has already discussed about it. Internet connection, same. No explanation and no discussion, not much can be said about it because, again, if you don't deal with for online teaching method, then no interaction. Teachers can't explain only through voice note or through the message that you send to a WhatsApp group, right? So no explanation and no discussion. No way to measure students' improvement. Well, teachers of high schools are a little bit more critical than teachers of elementary and junior high schools. They complain that it's difficult for them to measure their students' improvement because, well, as I told you before, they don't know whether the work that has been submitted is really the result of students themselves, or they have asked somebody else to do it on their behalf. No control over students' learning, more or less similar. Most students don't understand what they're doing. True, I experienced it myself. Well, you have to hear my voice too, right? So most of the time, many students do not know what they're doing online. What I'm thinking is if it is offline, then it's going to be easier for teachers, for lecturers, to guide their students step by step to make them understand rather than online because time is so limited for online, so we can't do something in a very long period of time. Okay? It takes time to teach online, especially if you have to repeat again and again talking about similar things. Most students don't do homework. Most students are absent from class. General truth for nowadays condition. They're absent from class. Like there are 40, should be 40 students in the classroom, and if you are absent them by using Google Form or any other platform that only like 10 to 15 students show up. Free scores, quote unquote, are given. Well, it's given by heart. What I'm saying is the teachers have to give score to students. Uh, well, the minimum score, at least for them to pass, even though it goes against uh, their heart. So they have to say, no, this student cannot do anything. These students do not know how to do this. These students do not understand. But because of, the free scores reason, teachers like, I don't know, you have to provide score to pass the students. It's a very negative one to me. University lecturers. I like this picture. Can you read that? The lecturers say, Alice, turn your video on. And I know it's the button, on the button, not a one. Over to your left. You're on mute, unmute yourself. Well, these are favorite vocabulary during online session. Now let's come to positive one, teaching flexibility in time and space. It's very true. New experience and skill to learn about online tools. Uh, Lecturers, even very senior lecturers who never experienced using these kind of tools, have to struggle a lot, have to make much effort to deal with these online tools because they have to teach by using um, online methods. So no other choice. It's not a choice. It's a must in this case. And the next one is opportunities to find and apply new tactics and strategies for online teaching. And if I may, I'll add one more, opportunities to find and apply problems to start writing, to find your topic to write, which will result in new publication. You can contact Dr. Paul for that. And negative one, connection issues for students in rural areas. Because students go back to their hometown. Some students are in rural areas where no internet connection provided. Sometimes they have to walk far, far away to be able to get internet connection. So it's very sad actually, but well, nothing can be done. We, in that case, we really appreciate their effort to be able to stay online and join the lesson. Teaching English, in this case, English skills, speaking, listening, reading, writing can be harder. For example, teaching speaking. Well, I'm teaching speaking, and I'm not really satisfied when my students have to do the presentation in online class because I can't really see the facial expression. I can't really see the gestures. And to me, it's not 100% a presentation because usually in offline class, I can really see them in person. It's easier to tell which one is serious, which one is not, uh, which one never prepared at all. But now in online class, we can't tell who is who, which is which, whether a student is serious or not, whether someone else has done the work for them and they just read or they just try to memorize before presenting. Uh, it, it's not really obvious in online class. Again, no way to measure students' improvement. It's very hard to be able to measure each and every student's improvement. No control over students' learning. Similar, most students can hardly understand the lesson taught because we can't, lecturers uh, cannot explain in detail, cannot make things simpler to make their students can easily be to make it can be easily understood by their students. So that's why students can hardly understand the lesson. Most students come late to Zoom meeting and will get disconnected for several times. Where we have been teaching for like 1 hour before one students come and we have to be admit. And then 5 minutes before we have to end the meeting, five students come, we have to admit. It is like that all the time. And well, we never know whether they just come late or they get disconnected and then come back again online. Never know. We have no time to really pay attention to that issue. And then Matthew effect applies here. If you never heard about Matthew effect, then well, let me put in a simple way. Uh, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. So it can also be applied in online class. So the smart students, basically they're smart. They are getting smarter. And the below average students, I'm not going to say stupid because I have to mind my language. All my students are here. So below average students, they are going to be in that level or even lower. That's what I mean by Matthew effect. Students lack of focus and discipline. It happens all the time when they are listening, in the middle of listening to their lecturers talking, somebody else is talking to them as well. When they're talking to their friends in group discussion, for example, someone else is interrupting about other things rather than the lesson that we're talking about. Teaching online takes time. It does take time. Okay, if I can make all the problems, all the advantages simpler, then I put it like this. I make them in groups. So in positive, there are 5 big groups, flexibility of time, flexibility of space, learning IT, experiencing new things, parents' involvement in the learning process. That's the positive side of having online teaching and learning. And then negative side, Well, it's obvious. Negative wins. There are seven groups. Connectivity issues, because every level has discussed about it. And then time, limitation of time, teaching methods, strategies, and techniques, how to find the right method or strategy to be able to engage our students in teaching and learning activities online. Students' attendance, very low percentage of students' attendance online, limited resources, yeah, we all agree with this. Students' attitudes, this is a big question. I mean, sometimes it's harder to take care of students' attitudes than taking care of their knowledge. And students understanding their focus and motivation. Let me continue about uh, voicing the teacher's voice. Now the question is, what do teachers say about teaching online? Teachers say, this is a river of my tears while pointing at the river. So if you have been crying a lot for 7 to 8 months, then your tears can be as much as the tears of the river, the water of the river. The first one, teaching English offline is difficult, indeed, but it's even more difficult to do it online. So basically, teaching English is difficult, but now it's even more difficult. It takes more time for preparation for teachers or lecturers who like to be well prepared in advance beforehand. But for those who do not like to spend time and energy for preparing, then this doesn't apply to them. Takes more energy to do online teaching, yes. You have to talk all the time because your students are quiet. They don't want to talk. They save their voice. Next, more money has to be spent on internet credit, even for purchasing new devices. Well, if they have their old devices who are not compatible to the Zoom app, for example, then they have to purchase new one. Next, it's not easy to find references which are suitable to be used in online teaching. I have noticed there are not many, there are several references, but of course, teachers have to spend some time to look for it, to do the searching. Much effort has to be made to find the proper methods, strategies, techniques, and activities for online teaching. And difficult also to create interesting and attractive lessons in online teaching. Well, in order to make our students happy, I should say, with the lesson that we're teaching, we have to create an interesting and attractive situation in the classroom by making the teaching and learning activities enjoyable. So this is one of the difficulties that teachers and lecturers say that it's difficult. Still difficult until now, not difficult at all. But some teachers and lecturers can find one or two methods that can fit their subject that they teach. But many teachers still find difficulties in searching for the right ways to teach online to make things interesting and attractive. Next, um, not all students can easily get access to online learning, especially those who are in rural areas. Those who are far from the capital city, it's going to be difficult for them to go online. They don't understand what has been explained and can't participate in the discussion. It's very difficult to conduct online discussion because of the connection. So sometimes if we use breakout rooms, all of them get back to the main room. So it can't run as expected. The instruction and explanation have to be delivered in Bahasa Indonesia. even it's in English lesson, we have to deliver in best Indonesian to make them easier to understand, to get the message across. Otherwise, they won't understand our instruction. Okay, it's a beautiful picture again that I'm going to show you. You might not see your student's face because they turn on the camera. They turn off the camera, but they probably look like this in the picture. No, we have finished with what do teachers say about teaching online. Now let's come to what do teachers say about their students in online teaching. Now, teachers about their students. There's a kind of miscommunication occurs almost all the time. If you can see the picture when teacher asks, do you speak English? The answer is yes. And the next question, what is your name? The answer is yes as well. So it's a kind of miscommunication. I don't know. Either it's because of the instruction or because of lack of knowledge or lack of ability of the students. Not all students have good concentration and can focus in the teaching learning process. Teachers mentioned this in the my previous slide, and students' motivation should be questioned because not all students are motivated in joining online class. There are students who have indisciplined behavior. What I mean by indisciplined behavior is they come online, they mute themselves because they are supposed to do that. Otherwise, the teaching and learning process can't take place. They turn off the camera, but they're not sitting in front of the laptop or their other devices. So that's one of the example of indisciplined behavior. Okay, they always give excuses like, why are you late? Traffic. Yeah, it's an online class, network traffic. Okay, you come up with new term, network traffic. Now, what do teachers say about parents? About students' parents? Let's see. The first one, not all parents can help their children in language lesson. Of course, because not all parents um, have the ability to, to speak English. Not all parents have the knowledge of English. The second one, some parents help their children directly behind the screen by giving answers, not helping them by explaining, but by giving answers, even in exam, not only in the assignment, but also in exam. It's exactly like what you can see in the picture. And academic environment can be created by parents at home during the online classes. Students can create their own space, their own workspace for online classes. Many students' parents don't think that online classes are the real one. Well, sometimes they think online class is just for fun. It's not the real class. In fact, well, it's the real class because we can't go offline, so we are going online. But some students, even their parents, do not think that way. Now let's hear the voices of our dear students. What do students say about online learning? The first one, connection again is the main problem to join online classes. No private space to join live classes. Or some students have to go outside. They have to sit under the tree uh, just for the sake of getting a new connection, just for the sake of having strong connection. Teachers, lecturers give much homework without any explanation. Yeah, I think uh, not trying to take the student side, but I think some teachers and lecturers are like that. Sometimes they give too much homework or assignment to be done by students without giving their students time to take a break. If the students can shout out loud, they will say, please give us a break. And then teachers, lecturers are very strict about the time. Well, I think it's something that we should do. And it's hard to understand teachers, lecturers' explanation. And the sad thing, or unfortunately, they discourage to ask. Whenever they don't understand, they just keep quiet. If lecturers or teachers ask, okay, is that clear? All of them are quiet. And then does anyone have any questions? Nobody wants to talk. So the conclusion is they all have understood. In fact, they don't understand at all because they say it's hard to understand teachers' lectures explanation, uh, particularly if the explanation is in English, then it's going to be disaster for students. Next, what do students say about online learning still? It's good that we can listen to our teacher lectures while doing something else. I put many question marks. What do they mean by doing something else? Uh, well, for them, this is one of the good things to go online. That at the same time they can do something else. Maybe they can play games. Excuse me, let me drink. Um, Something wrong with my throat. I talk so much of it. So while listening to the lectures explaining, some students playing online games. Some others, maybe they're sleeping, they're falling asleep. Nobody knows. That's why I put question mark. I don't want to accuse. I don't want to judge. It's just an assume. I just assume. It's just an assumption. No need to spend money for transportation to go to school. It's a good thing for them. Go to campus because they can do it from their bathroom. They can do it from the neighborhood. They don't need to spend money for transportation. However, extra money is needed for internet credit. They have to spend extra money for internet credit. Next, they can't meet their friends. Is one of their complaints. They really want to meet their friends. They really want to interact with their friends, but they can't. And there's no interaction and discussion with classmates. All they can do is chatting in their WhatsApp group. I don't know to me, and they also say that it's not really interaction. Some teacher lecturers don't attend the class regularly. Well, again, without trying to take a side from students, I have to say yes to this. And students don't do their homework because they don't know what to do. Sometimes they fail to understand the instruction from the lectures. So that's one of the reasons why they don't do their homework. But I think other reasons is because they are lazy. That's it. That's simple. Well, this is interesting. Found this picture and decided to put it here because it's an interesting one. Back in 2019 and earlier, mobile phone not allowed in school, right? You're not allowed to take your mobile phone in the classroom. But from 2020, particularly from March, I guess, uh, coming to school not allowed. Not mobile phone, not allowed. Coming to school not allowed. But you have to use your mobile phone. It's interesting. Very contradiction situation. Now, what do students say about online learning? Sometimes they feel bored and sleepy joining online class. And then why? Because all they need is attractive and interesting way of teaching. They need something different rather than excuse me, rather than sitting in front of the laptop and then listening to the teachers or lecturers talking. Because for them it's boring. Next, teachers' lectures dominate the talk because we don't know what to say. Well, this is so true because students are quiet all the time. They don't talk. So rather than no talking at all in the classroom, teacher or lecturers have to find a way to talk to make the class alive. But from student side, they say teacher lectures always dominate the class. But they also admit at the same time that that's because they don't know what to say. They don't say anything in the class, online class I'm talking about. And they don't understand the lesson, but they don't know how to ask and what to ask. Well, actually, they don't understand what has been explained by the teacher or lecturer, but they discourage to ask, or they have questions in mind, but they don't know how to formulate in a good question. That's why they say they don't know how to ask. Okay, again, this one. Well, guys, if you think, my dear students, look at this picture. If you think it's really you, then yeah, you can continue watching 8 episodes of TV series, especially Korean movies, uh, looking like this, and only 20 minutes in front of your laptop into online class, you're going to fall asleep. For you. Now, what do I say? So I've voiced the voices of students, of teachers. Now my voice. I will wrap up as my conclusion. The first one, learning online is a new challenge to explore new things. Of course, new challenge because we just deal with this kind of condition for several months. We have to explore new online learning tools, instructional methodologies, or techniques, and unique environments. And also the comparison between classroom-based and fully online learning. So those are the things that we have to explore and keep on exploring. There are pros and cons, of course, two sides of the coin. Uh, in EFL online teaching, coming from both teachers and students. However, positive attitudes have to be owned by both parties to face the reality that it cannot be avoided. Now, if we say we hate online teaching, or students, if you say we hate online learning, what can you do about it? Nothing can be done, right? But enjoy it. Try to enjoy. Try to see the bright side of it. Try to see the positive side of it. So all you have to do is give positive attitude towards everything that you are facing now. Otherwise, you're gonna be stressed out about all things. More preparation and planning, as well as changes and adjustment, are needed by both EFL teachers and students in online teaching and learning process, of course. Why? To be able to improve the quality of teachers' way of teaching and students' way of learning. Well, I'm aware that all of us have missed out many important aspects in teaching and learning process during online class. We have missed out many enjoyment. We have missed out many great things of offline classes. But an extremely unique journey has been brought us to this point where we are now, where we can stay connected and support each other. As my final remark, what I'd like to say is this sudden forced transition from offline to online teaching and learning is a kind of walking into the unknown, which has to be experienced by almost all teachers and students, not only in Kupang, but in the world. The whole world has faced the walking into the unknown phenomenon. So if you are feeling depressed, if you are thinking that I'm so stressful facing this online learning, then you're not alone. Never think that it's the end of the world. Online teaching and learning is not the end of the world, guys. Start thinking and making positive effort to find a solution of all problems come in your way. So that's all from me. That's all that I can share. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions, comments, and concerns, please do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Santri. It seems that your presentation has touched the really essence of this problematic condition that everyone is facing. It's really representing the love and hate relation between the use of online learning and also us as the teacher or lecturers. In the chat rooms, you have already a record of at least 13 people writing their questions and comments, starting from Charles is asking your point of view about how news happened lately about student complaints towards online class. There are lots of objections and criticism behind it. One of which is about assignment they get. What do you think about this?
Okay, let me go directly one by one. Charles, right? He's talking about assignments. Is that it? I can't get access to the chat. So, Miss Linda, is Charles asking about uh,
Charles Lim.
what's his point?
His point about asking about the complaints about too many assignments, especially from the
Oh, okay.
student point of view.
Okay, okay. Well, if I'm not mistaken, I've already mentioned uh, that issue in my talking that um, from students' point of view, they complain that, and also parents of the record, they complain that there are much homework given, many tasks to do without giving previous explanation. So they don't know what is what. Even students do not understand what they're doing. So, well, if you are asking me that kind of questions, then I can only say that it's that if teachers or lecturers are here, it's better for you to find ways to at least giving your students clue of what to do rather than just sending them assignments or tasks all the time because it's going to be useless. They can do the assignments, but it might be not from uh, not from their own. It's not them doing the work. It's somebody else. They get somebody else to do the things for them, and your you don't hit the target, I should say here. So my suggestion for teachers and students who are for teachers especially who are in this room, try to find ways to at least give clear instruction and this discussion, even a short discussion with your students about what they have to do before sending assignments or sending tasks for your students to do. Well, I think that's all for me. I don't know whether or not uh, I answered his question, but more or less that's from me, Charles. Any other
Yes,
questions,
there
Miss
are.
Linda?
There are still many more.
Okay.
The second question from two persons is asking your opinion about the claim that people are lazy due to the condition. People are lazy to access to online learning, and in relation to that, what would happen to the education world if this continues to happen? In your opinion?
Okay, it's a matter of term use, right? Um, when I believe that comes from students. Well, I assume if that comes from students, then it's just a matter of what choice used by your teachers or your lecturers or somebody else. Uh, well, they don't really mean, my personal opinion, they don't really mean that you're lazy. But what they mean is, well, if they can put in other words, what they'd like to say is, come on, go ahead, do something, make effort to get connected. Because, well, if you say, sorry, ma'am, I can't attend the online class today because of the connection, bad connection, and tomorrow you're gonna give similar reason. The day after, again, similar reason. Then I believe you will get that. What is it? You will get the term as the bonus. because they will call, okay, you're lazy. But I'm sure they don't mean that. What they're trying to say, if they can put in other words, is come on, go and do something. Find a way or make effort to be able to join this online class rather than just sit for the moon to come onto your lap. Nothing will happen. You gain nothing from, if you do nothing, then you'll gain nothing. I guess that's the answer for the second question, Miss Linda.
Uh, I'm afraid we will have to cut some of the questions due to the time constraint. However,
Yeah, you can pick and choose.
yes, so, I believe that there will be some other, this question will be answered through sessions in breakout session later in the afternoon. However, Dr. Santri, two last questions, if I may point those two questions from one from Erickson Saragi. The question about the research that you did. The question is, did teachers in your research apply the same application on online application for materials, assignment, quizzes, and tests? And then the last questions, if I may, this is a statement and also a question, both from Mr. Rob Dickey. Does online teaching needs to take an edutainment approach? Teacher must entertain learners or they tune out in the online environment? If yes, then the comment is oh my.
Okay, the first one is about whether or not, um, oh, I forgot. Whether or not teachers, these teachers use similar platform. Is that the question?
Yes,
Is that a question?
the
No?
similar the same application for the teaching and learning process and the quizzes and
Okay.
tests, etc.
Okay. Well, the platform used by teachers are different. Mostly for lectures, they use Zoom platform, and for elementary school, junior high school, as you have seen on my slide, no online learning, almost no online learning take place. So all they use was WhatsApp group in sending a message or post note. And for universities and senior high school, especially for universities, lecturers use Zoom. And senior high school, they use Google Meet. So they use various platform, or is it online platform for the online learning. And then once again, the question for Rob.
Rob, yes.
Uh, what's the question again,
The
Miss
question is,
Linda?
does online teaching need to take an edutainment approach that teacher must entertain learners or they tune out in the online environment?
Yeah, Rob, for me, yes. The answer to the question is yes. That online teaching needs to take an edutainment approach. Um, because, well, if you can say the answer from the students, they get bored during the lesson. It's because all they need to do is just sit in front of the laptop and then listen to their teachers talking or the lecturers talking all the time. They can't talk because they don't, first, they don't know what to talk, and second, they don't understand what's going on even. So if the approach is like you said, if you use entertainment approach, then maybe I'm not sure because I haven't applied that kind of thing. Maybe the atmosphere of the classroom will be different. Uh, it can make them more interesting in joining the classroom. And then what is it? Teachers, does online, okay, I can read it now. Does online teaching need to take an edutainment approach? Teacher must entertain learners or they tune out in the online? Yeah, I, so far, my answer is yes. Miss Linda?
Thank you, Dr. Santri. Your research and also your presentation really have highlight the very essence of these problematic conditions. All of the people that put on the questions or comments really appreciated your sessions, which truly answer what they have been struggling with all this time. So thank you very much for your presentation. It's an honor to have you also as the keynote speakers.